This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
Welcome into another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. We got the New York Jets Week 2 coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock at MetLife Stadium. Patriots go on the road for the first time this season after a tough loss at home against division rival, the Miami Dolphins. I'm here with my co-host, Chase Campbell. How's it going, Jace?
It's going good. Another division game on the slate, 2 in a row. Got to bounce back this week against a very beatable Jets team. So let's get right into it. But you mentioned it, Week 2 at New York. We're going up there, MetLife Stadium. Fans in the stands again, if there's any Jets fans out there that still believe. But they've looked like they have a bright future with some draft picks they have. They obviously lost Week 1, so both teams 0-1. But, Cole, what are you looking for in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for the Pats to bounce back after a tough loss at home. A bunch of mental errors, loss in this football game, penalties, turnovers like we talked about. A lot of things that you're not used to seeing the Patriots do. So I think it's a good opportunity for them to make some corrections this week during the week and bounce back against the Jets team that's just not a great football team. They got some young talent. I think Zach Wilson's not a quarterback to take lightly. I think he's got a ton of talent, and I think he's a guy that is fit for a team like this where they need somebody to put the team on their back and give them an opportunity to win this game. So a guy like Zach Wilson, who is great with his legs, great with his arm. I mean, he can move out of the pocket and sling it. Just doesn't have to be perfect form. He can throw it sidearm over the top, whatever, on the run. It just flies out of his hand. So a guy like that has a lot of talent, a lot of ability to carry a team. So I think it's going to be, it should be a football game that we should win, but it's not going to be something that they should take lightly. And I think it's going to be still going to be a lot of work to beat this football team.
Yeah, you can't take anything lightly. I've seen, worse losses and other teams coming out and having better games than us. But I think that this is a great bounce back game for New England. I think that we played good outside of the turnovers and outside of the penalties. And Bill Belichick's going to have this team ready. They're going to clean it up. They know that they can't go 0-2, especially 0-2 in the division. They got to jump out early. They got to get this game. And I think they're ready. I think the defense, they're going to have that bend not break mentality. Against Zach Wilson, we all know Bill Belichick's track record with rookie quarterbacks. They're going to make him uncomfortable. He looked pretty frantic in Week 1 due to his offensive line struggles, Mekhi Becton going out. So it looks like he's constantly on the move, having to make plays with his legs. And I just think with our front seven that we're going to have more of a pass rush. We're going to get to him. We're going to make him run. And he can make those acrobatic throws, but I'm going to take my chances on him running and having to beat us than just letting him sit in a clean pocket. So I look for New England to clean those things up this week and, bounce back and get this win.
Yeah. I mean, last year, this was a Jets team that we thought was going to win 0 games. They ended up winning 1 football game, and we almost lost that first game against them. I know we've improved a lot from that team. They've also improved a lot. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk by any stretch, but we should win this football game. It's going to depend on how our secondary and how much pressure we get on Zach Wilson. If we're really getting in there and putting a lot of pressure on him and forcing him to make a lot of these throws, and he doesn't make the smartest decisions and tries to make a couple plays, and we end up making the play on defense, then this game could get ugly and we could really, break out and have a nice bounce back game. But I think if Wilson kind of keeps his composure and we struggle to get constant pressure and he's moving out of the pocket using his legs, they got some talented wide receivers, and our secondary is something that we're still not 100% sure about. So I could see him running around the pocket, running outside of the pocket, making some plays, throwing it down the field. We saw him do that against Carolina a couple times and make a couple plays. So he looked a lot better in the second half of that game than the first. But Bill Belichick's success against rookie quarterbacks is on another level. Doesn't lose often against rookie quarterbacks, especially only his second game and against the Jets organization, who I think we have a 10 or 15 game win streak on. It should be a football game that we should win, but I don't think it's anything to take lightly, even if it is the Jets.
Yeah, and this is another game where we won the rushing battle against the Dolphins, but we got to win the rushing battle again this week, even without Trent Brown. Their running backs are nowhere near the caliber of our running backs. Damien Harris, J.J. Taylor, James White, even Ramondre Stevenson. Our running back room is loaded, I would say. And, whether it's pass catching or rushing. And I feel like that's going to be the key right here. Is I wouldn't mind seeing Mac Jones throw 35 passes again, but I don't think that he needs to. I think that this offensive line can really control the game, really eat a lot of time off the clock like they did in Miami. The key is just going to be punching it in the red zone and not getting field goals instead of touchdowns.
And a lot of it kind of depends on Trent Brown, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I mean, losing him, you saw a significant drop off in our ability to run the football last week against Miami. And hopefully we don't see that same thing. Now we got Yasir Durant has been playing right tackle so far this week at practice. So maybe he'll be building a little bit more chemistry with those guys and hopefully has a good football game and we can have more success running the football again. But either way, if we got to be able to run the football, and I don't really see Mac throwing the ball as many times because I think there should be more opportunities for some bigger chunk plays. He early on in that game, he kind of checked the ball down a lot, but that's where the good options were. That's where the people were open. They were covering well in the back end, so he was throwing some shorter passes. But this Jets defense, this Jets secondary is not nearly to the caliber of the Dolphins, so he should have a lot more opportunities to throw the ball down the field and get some chunk plays, which we didn't really see as much of at the start of that Miami game. But towards later in the game when he got more comfortable, we just started to see him open it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of that playbook open up too. Not that it wasn't super opened week one because we did see a lot of passes, but Max just that much more comfortable. We have guys in their designated roles. We're going to see things on film that we like against the Jets that we didn't like against Miami, and we're going to take advantage of those things. So I'm excited to see more of the playbook, more of McDaniel's play calling, more of Mac Jones's pre-snap reads and everything else. So
yeah, I am as well. And this is one play I just wanted to show from last week. We praised Mac so much, and he really did have a phenomenal game. But this is one thing that, as a rookie, when you're going against a tough defense, you miss things once in a while. So this is one that I thought he really missed, where we could have had a very, very large chunk play here with Jonnu Smith. So I'll play this here. But so Jonnu's right here, and I think he ends up throwing the check down to Damien Harris. But if he waits just a second, watch Jonnu on this route right here. He's going to run up the seam a little bit, fake inside and go outside, and creates quite a bit of separation in space where there's no safety behind him, and he could have ran quite a ways. So we'll play this right here. You see him run that route, and look at the space he has. If he throws that and hits Jonnu on the run, that's a long play right there. And the closest defender to him is right there, and the guy behind him, which I don't know if he'd catch him. Jonnu's great in space and great with the ball in his hand. So we'll play it from the other angle right here. It was great route by Jonnu. He kind of had the defender fooled a little bit. Runs inside, boom, boom, creates that space. I mean, he's got plenty of space there to throw that football. He releases the ball right there. Look at Jonnu. He's got some solid separation. So that would have been one. I think Mac's probably looking at it on film the next day and saying, "Ooh, I wish I had that one back." Because if he hit Jonnu on that play, that honestly could have been 80-yard touchdown right there.
Yeah, that's gonna come along for him. I'm sure that there was a lot of people in his ear from Bill to Josh, other guys like get the ball out quick, don't make a bad play worse. And not that he was getting too much pressure on that play, but I'm sure in the back of his mind, first game starting in the regular season, I'm pretty sure that they're down or they're tied at that point in the game, and so he's probably like, okay, well, I don't want to throw an unforced pick or something like that. But yeah, he's got to trust himself. I trust Mac to make that throw right there any day of the week. And that's a big game. Jonnu Smith is a big guy and a fast guy. He can get open if we find those mismatches. That's going to be big. So yeah, one that he missed, one of few I can think of a couple other ones. The one to Jacoby Myers on 3rd and 4 when they do the little quick rollout and he places it a little bit lower. And, it happens to the best of them. I mean, no quarterback's perfect. And yeah, you'd like to see him complete that because that's a pretty easy throw. But, for the game that we saw him play week 1, I was pretty happy with the mistakes and the, missed inaccurate throws that we saw.
Yeah. And I'd personally rather him play it safe than just go wild and start chucking up 50-50 balls and just see what happens. You know what I mean? He's going to work his way from, okay, now the game's starting to slow down for me. I don't have to take these checkdowns as much. If I just wait half a second longer, this seam route or this corner, this post route's going to be open. So he's going to start to see that more and more the more he gets comfortable. It was his first game against a great defense. I think he just wanted to ease his way into it. And you could see by the offensive play calling in that first half, they wanted to ease him into it as well. So I just think he's going to continue to grow and build confidence. And I'm excited to see him continue to progress. But he was certainly not happy after that game, that loss against the Dolphins. He said that same night after the game, he started watching film on the Jets because he had a sour taste in his mouth, and he doesn't like losing football games. So just his mentality and everything I've seen in interviews and everything he said seems like such a selfless guy and such a patriot already. You know what I mean? That's just everything you hear from him. You're like, that sounds like he just was born to be a patriot, just from all the interviews and different stuff he says. But he works extremely hard, prepares better than, I don't think anybody really prepares better than him as a rookie right now. His teammates are constantly talking about, his head is always in the playbook. Hunter Henry was talking about, he was asked, because Mack and his girlfriend were hanging out with Hunter Henry and his wife. And Hunter Henry was talking about, Mack's head is always in the playbook. He's always looking at stuff. He's a film junkie. He's constantly trying to improve and get better and see what he can do to really learn this offense and help us be successful this year. And Hunter Henry also commented on Mack's ability to take hits. He was hit 9 times, which was second in the NFL in Sam Darnold, I believe. So Hunter Henry commented on that. He was like, his ability to sit in the pocket and really take those hits, it shows a lot to us as men, players, tight ends, wide receivers, everybody, that he's willing to sit in there and throw a ball and take that hit for the team. So I think he's just a really selfless player, and it's good to see the biggest leader on a team is the quarterback position usually once they get involved. So it's good to see him have those qualities early.
Yeah, and his passer rating under pressure was 102.7 in game one, which is incredible when you're getting pressured, the second most times in football. And then his big time throw percentage, I think I mentioned this, was 9% out of his 39 throws. So he's making plays. He's making plays under pressure. He's making plays in a division game, crunch time, and it was good to see him. So while we're on this quarterback thing, let's get into the quarterback's week one stats. Mac Jones, obviously 29 for 39, 74.4% completion percentage, 281 yards and the 1 touchdown. And Zach Wilson, 20 for 37, 54% completion percentage, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But Cole, what do you look for in this quarterback battle this week?
Yeah, I look for Mack to have the same amount of poise that he had last week. It's going to be a lot easier of a defense. So he's, like we talked about a little bit, he's going to be able to hit some of those shots. So I look for him to kind of, hopefully they open the playbook up a little bit for him, now seeing, okay, this kid can handle it. He's not going to crumble under pressure. He had that one mistake, his first pass of the game. But honestly, if you look at that play, and actually I'm going to pull it up in a minute once you respond. But yeah, he's ready for the moment. He showed the moment wasn't too big against that defense. He's going against an easier defense, much worse secondary. They should be able to open the playbook up a little bit more, and he should be able to hit some of these shots that they're looking to take. I think he's still going to be safe with the ball. I don't think he's going to look to just be hucking it down the field all game, but I think if the shot's there, hopefully he's more willing to take that. And with another week under his belt, another week of practice, he's got his first game out of the way. This is game 2, another division game. So we got to win this football game. And he seems extremely motivated, like we just talked about. So I look for him to just stay poised, make the right decisions, and just as a rookie, you look to not lose the football game. And if he does that, we should be in a good spot to win this game. But Zach Wilson, I think he's going to make plays with his feet. I think you're going to see his tremendous arm talent. That's why he went second overall in the draft. He's a phenomenal player. He's got all the qualities you want in a quarterback, and the mobility, the arm talent. He can, throw it 50 yards on a laser on the run, put it wherever he wants. This kid's got tremendous talent. It's just his supporting cast around him is going to limit him early on. So we got to take advantage of that poor offensive line, and really try to get pressure on him.
Yeah, the skill set that Zach Wilson possesses is different than Mac Jones. I think Zach Wilson has the flashy playability. He's going to scramble. He's going to make crazy throws on the run. Patrick Mahomes, like Mac Jones, is going to sit in his pocket. He's going to extend plays like we saw on that one holding call that came back, but it's going to be a little bit different than what Zach Wilson is. Zach Wilson's going to have a lot of pressure in his face too with our pass rush and with the struggles of the offensive line. They don't have quite as good receivers, and I expect our secondary to bounce back after, kind of getting shredded in the short throw game, like you mentioned on our post-game episode for Miami, where they're just playing off technique and we're giving them easy 5-yard slant completions. So the only real receiving threat that I would say is a worry for me against the Jets is Corey Davis. I think that he was special in Tennessee last year. Obviously, he had those 2 touchdowns. So him and Zach Wilson are establishing chemistry. But yeah, the key for me is going to be who turns the ball over less. And you mentioned it also is don't lose the game. Be kind of a game manager type. Both rookie quarterbacks have the ability to win the game for you, but I don't know if that's going to be necessary in week 2 when you have a team as good as the New England Patriots are, both offensively and defensively. So for me, it's Mac Jones keeping his turnovers down. I would like to see him not throw another interception. I don't know if that's likely, but if he can stay, limiting turnovers, and we got to win the turnover margin again, or we got to win the turnover margin, which is what we didn't do against Miami. And I think that that's very doable. We can win the turnover margin by 2 or 3, I think, this week, getting pressure in Zach Wilson's face, forcing bad throws, making him force some things if we're up early in the game and he's trying to, make some heroic plays. So yeah, those are the 2 things I look at in the quarterback position is, or the quarterback battle this week is not turning the ball over and then, just being a game manager.
If we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, we're going to be in a good position to win this football game. Last week, we shot ourselves in the foot multiple times. We had 4 fumbles. We only lost 2 of them, but a ton of penalties, ton of penalty yards. The most penalty yards we've had as a team since 2019. So it's just, when you shoot yourself in the foot that many times, it's really hard to win in the NFL. It's already hard to win in the NFL without doing that. But when you just keep turning the ball over and you lose the turnover battle, it's tough to win games. So even if it's just even, or if we win the turnover battle, we're going to put ourselves in a good position to win this football game. It is the Jets. Hopefully we win regardless, but I want to see us clean up those things a little bit. We saw in preseason a little bit that the second team and when Mack was on the field, we struggled a little bit with some penalties, but I figured that was kind of just being with the backups and all that stuff. So I look to see the starters build one more week of chemistry. I look to see them build on that a little bit and clean up the penalties, hold on to the football. We've been working on ball handling drills and not turning the ball over all week in practice. You've seen them every time the media gets a chance to look at the team. They've been doing ball control, ball security drills. So I look to see that be improved quite a bit this week. But I want to play this real quick because it was an awful play, but I see where Mack thought, okay, yeah, the whole spike. Obviously, you can't throw the ball backwards, but if he could have got this ball to Jonnu, I just want to play this real quick and show. I think they show the replay from a different angle that shows it. But if he could have got the ball to Jonnu honestly could have made a play. Look how much space he has on that left side. Where if he did end up getting the ball to Jonnu, you never know. Jonnu is great with the ball in his hands, creating after the catch. It was clearly a rookie mistake, but let's see if they show the replay. Okay. That's probably not the right angle. But yeah, I mean, it looked like he was about to throw it to Jonnu, and then he kind of realized, okay, there's 2 more guys coming at me. Let me spike it. But there was a lot of space, and he talked about in practice that they hadn't got that look that Miami showed him with the blitz. I think I see what he was trying to do. If he could have hit Jonnu there, you never know. There could have been a bigger play, but it's just rookie mistake early in his game, first ever drop back in the NFL against this defense. It's bound to happen, but I was glad to see him bounce back after this.
Yeah, I mean, seeing a new look from a Bill Belichick descendant is nothing new. Brian Flores knows what Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are going to teach and prepare Mac Jones for as a rookie quarterback. So that's just good on Brian Flores' part, having his defense ready, showing him a different look early in the game, maybe trying to throw him off, get his confidence down. But like you mentioned, he bounced back here. I wanted to show a couple clips, speaking of Zach Wilson, his arm talent and just the things that he does that I think are great. And this is one of them from the game last week where he's going to get pressure in his face right here, but he's going to deliver a ball and it's on the money. And it could have been a touchdown. The receiver gets chased down from behind, but this is showing, his elite arm strength, even when his feet aren't set and when he has pressure in his face. So you're going to see him step up right here, get pressure on from the side, and then just throws a dart to him. And I mean, that's no like little soft blooper of a pass. This thing is
Oh, yeah,
on the
that's a line
line,
drive.
from the 45 to about the 20. The opposite 45 to the 20. It's just an impressive throw right there by Zach Wilson that we're seeing in his NFL debut already. But what's concerning is that's like every other play for him is he's having to make throws like that because of the pressure that's in his face. And that's what New England's got to continue to make him do.
Yeah, exactly. And when that's what you got to take advantage of is this offensive line losing Mekhi Becton, and it's already not a great offensive line. So when you lose your best guy and Wilson's running around in the pocket like that, you got to take advantage and you got to make some plays. He was under duress all game, and we got to hopefully continue that. And I'll pull up a clip right here. Similar to yours. This is the kind of talent that he has. This was a touchdown to Corey Davis. It wasn't necessarily a tight window throw, but all right, moves out of the pocket on the run, throws a nice throw in the end zone. I mean, then right after this, on the 2-point conversion, he kind of shows off his athleticism a little bit more after this touchdown. But just I mean, ability to move on the run like that. He's got some speed. He's drafted number 2 overall for a reason. He's got a ton of talent. And go ahead.
Yeah, he's an elusive little dude. I mean, watched him at BYU. It's an hour and a half down south for me where I live, and being a BYU fan and watching him a lot. I mean, he's good. He didn't play very great competition last year, which maybe benefited his stats and stuff, but the intangibles and everything is there. Like he has great arm strength. I think he's a smart player. I think that he's coached well. I like what Zach Wilson does. I'm not a Jets fan, but I like what Zach Wilson does. This is him in college right here. I remember watching this play live, and I about crap my pants when I saw this because of how accurate this throw is. And this is in a bowl game against UCF, who has been up there in the top 25, top 15 the last couple of years. But he throws a dart right in there. It's dang good coverage. Like this could have easily have been intercepted by the corner. This is a great play, but the accuracy and just like I mentioned in the last clip I showed, him throwing it on a line is just spectacular. I mean, this is again from the 35 now to about the 5-yard line, 30 yards on a dot, steps into it. Great accuracy right there. I really think that between Mac Jones and Zach Wilson, they were 2 of the most accurate quarterbacks coming out of the draft, and it's awesome. So
yeah, I remember watching that game live as well. That was one of the few games of his that I watched once he started to kind of be on the radar, that up and coming quarterback. And I mean, after that game, he skyrocketed up all the draft boards. I mean, he was projected to go late in the top 10, top 15. And then after that, it was boom. He's okay. Is this kid better than Justin Fields? And that's when you started to hear all the hype, and he shot up to number 2 overall in the draft and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, his talent just jumps off the screen. That was obviously against lesser competition, but you can see the skill the kid's got. So that's one thing. It's going to be the Patriots defense is a lot better than any of the defenses he was going up against. But I mean, honestly, the Jets aren't working with bad weapons. They got Corey Davis. Jamison Crowder just came off the COVID list, so he's going to be good to go. They still got Denzel Mims. And J.C. Jackson didn't have Stephon Gilmore for one of those Jets games, and he was struggling a little bit. It's not great to see. He got scored on it once or twice and wasn't having the best game. He had an interception late from Joe Flacco, but just overall, the wide receivers this team has is much improved over last year. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for our secondary, and I think how much pressure we get on Zach Wilson is really going to determine how this game goes. If we get a ton of pressure on him constantly, I think like Finn says here, 31-17 Pats, I think that could be a very reasonable prediction. You know what I mean? But if we struggle to get pressure on Zach Wilson, I think this game might be closer than people think. So I hope our defensive line lives up to the expectations we're putting on them, because I don't really want to see us have a tight game down to the wire with the Jets, who just had the 2nd overall pick. That's not, after losing week 1 to the Dolphins. I think this is a great opportunity to bounce back and really build some confidence in the team before a couple tough games against the Saints and then the Buccaneers.
Yeah, and we don't want to give them hope early. Finn, we'll get into our score predictions and some of the props, so make sure you stay in for that. Your prediction's pretty close to what I have, but like Cole said, I don't want to give them hope. I think it's going to be a big win for New England, if they don't give them hope. If you let the Jets hang around like they did in the first game we played them when they almost beat us, then they're a dangerous team. Any team can win if they believe. But if we come out, we jump on them right away, we get a touchdown, we get a 3-and-out, we go down, get a field goal, like just like that in the blink of an eye, we're up 10-0, 14-0, like that. Then they're like, holy crap, like what are we gonna do? Like then they're starting to press. Zach Wilson maybe tries to, make a couple hero plays, and that's when we get the turnovers that we need. So yeah, we got to come out and jump on them early and often, in my opinion, and it's very doable.
Yeah, if you jump on them early and they start to become one-dimensional, not that their run game is anything good. It's really something that we shouldn't have to worry about, and we should have a lot of success stopping the run against them. But if you start to get up on them early and you make them extremely one-dimensional, where they're just going to be passing every play and we can pin our ears back and rush the passer and cause chaos, then yeah, I mean, he's a rookie. He's bound to make a couple mistakes, try to make a couple plays, and maybe they don't go his way, and it can very easily snowball out of hand. So I think getting off to a good start, getting a lead, and that's how this football team wants to play. If we get a lead, we're just built to run the football, run down the clock, and come out of here with a win. So I think I agree with you there. I think that's definitely what this team should look to do. We should look to, obviously every team wants to get out to an early lead, but especially against a division opponent like this after last week's tough loss, clean up these things, hold on to the football, score some points early, and just build some more chemistry on this defense and really get after the passer, because that'd be nice to get out to a big lead and be able to take out some of the starters late in the game, get some rest, and just feel good going into a week 3 game against the Saints.
Yeah, and on the road, you don't want to get the crowd involved. You don't want to have it be a close game down the stretch where,
True,
crowd noise is coming in. So it's big to jump on them early. But let's get into the run game. Like you mentioned, both tackles this week. Mekhi Becton out with an MCL injury. He officially is on IR. Trent Brown questionable today with a calf strain. He did not practice today, so that's not looking too good, him or Kyle Van Noy, which we'll get to in a minute. But obviously we have a chance to have our big tackle in the game. The Jets don't. But how big of a loss would Trent Brown be for us, and how big of a loss is Mekhi Becton for the Jets?
It's a huge loss for the Jets. I mean, that's their best offensive lineman by a pretty good margin. And where this Jets offensive line already isn't great, losing your best guy who's been the most consistent for you, it's not great. You want to have a good offensive line and give your quarterback time. That's how the Jets are going to win football games. If they want to win any this year, they're going to have to give Zach Wilson time, because that's how he can be most dangerous. You give this kid time to make plays and do different stuff, and he's not constantly under duress, and he can have a couple seconds to, okay, let's see what's going on down the field. It takes rookies a little longer to process. So if they're always running around like a chicken with its head cut off, it's not good for them. It speeds up the internal clock in their head. It's hard to know what you're supposed to do as a rookie when your time is just, I mean, you got no time to decide and make these decisions. So that's why I was so impressed with what Mack did last week against pressure, because you don't see a lot of rookies do that. But yeah, it's a huge loss for the Jets. It's also a pretty big loss for us. I mean, like we talked about, Trent Brown was a huge loss. People didn't really give enough credit to what he did that first drive. In 7 plays, we had a couple great run plays to his side, that 35-yard one by Damien Harris, and then a 6-yard sweep from Jonnu Smith. He's a big dude. He's great in the run game, great in the pass game. And going from Trent Brown to Yasir Durant is quite a big drop off. And what you want to do is give your quarterback time and be able to run the football extremely effectively. Losing a guy like that is not what you want to have happen. So I hope he's ready to go. It doesn't look good if he hasn't practiced the past 2 days. If it's a minor calf injury, you'd think that if it was that minor, he'd be able to at least be limited in participation, ride the bike on the sideline, but he just flat out hasn't shown up to practice the past 2 days. So it doesn't look good for him to start on Sunday. And it is going to be definitely a tough loss, but we should still be able to beat this football team without Trent Brown.
For sure. Yeah, the Trent Brown is a massive loss. I showed the running direction stat last time on the postgame episode about how after that first drive, after the Damien Harris run and the Jonnu Smith fly sweep, we only ran towards the B gap or A gap on the right, or B gap or C gap on the right side one more time the whole game. And that's kind of the same thing that I'm going to pull up here with Mekhi Becton. Now, Mekhi Becton ended up playing a lot more snaps than Trent Brown's 9. Mekhi Becton still got in 48. And then the replacement that came in for him, which is Morgan Moses, actually graded out pretty well for Pro Football Focus. So he's a very competent backup, but still doesn't make it any less, it still sucks to lose him. But here is the stats for I'm gonna have to change this real quick. But here is the rushing direction for the Jets. So as you can see right here, Mekhi Becton was playing left tackle. They went to him 3 times, but look at the yards per attempt. It's only 1, and even in the left guard, it's only 3 yards per attempt. So they're not really gashing you on that left side, and I don't expect that to be any more or any higher than it was last week against this Patriots front seven, where they were actually getting most of their yards are coming off of the right side. So without Mekhi Becton on the left, just looking at these stats from last week, I expect them to run to the right more. Whether I'm sure New England, has a beat on that, and they're gonna, game plan for that and have some sort of scheme to stop that. But without Mekhi Becton on that left side, it's kind of similar to Trent Brown. Like, you're losing a big bodied dude that can move guys out of the hole and create, semi-truck sized holes that, guys can run through. So 2 big losses if they weren't to go for both offensive lines. And then we haven't even talked about the pass blocking. They're both great in pass blocking. They're both massive guys to get around, can move good for their size. So both sides of the ball are looking, pretty not scary, but they're looking, it sucks to lose your 2 left tackle, or your left tackle and your right tackle respectively for the teams.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are enormous. Those are both mountains, just huge guys. So with their ability to have that size and just be able to move people and pass block, run block, all that different stuff, these are 2 really talented tackles, and it's tough for both teams. It's going to be a loss for both teams. Another guy that I'm starting to get concerned about is Kyle Van Noy. We saw he missed the last 2 practices with a throat injury. I have no possible idea what could have occurred there. It didn't seem like he had any throat injury. One person posted on Twitter the video of him screaming and said that was his throat injury from screaming. But I honestly, I have no idea what he could have done to have a throat injury. I don't know if it was like he had like strep throat and I have no idea. So I haven't heard any even rumors about that, what that could be, what his status is. I feel better about him playing than Trent Brown, but it really doesn't look good having Kyle Van Noy not practice the past 2 days either. And we also had a couple other guys. Jonnu Smith was limited today in practice with a hip injury. I don't know if that's from when he got absolutely cracked and flipped in the air and it landed, but that looked like a play where he could have got injured. And so maybe that's his hip injury. And then Quinn Nordine with an abdomen injury. And I don't know if that's just from kicking. I'm not sure how he got that. He didn't even play this weekend, but it's starting to not look that great for Quinn Nordine. We have 2, you can elevate a player off the practice squad twice before you have to either keep him on the 53 or cut him. So if we elevate Nick Folk this game, we either have to cut him after this game or we have to keep him on the 53. So I could see this being all right, Quinn Nordine, abdomen injury, he's going on injury reserve. We boost Nick Folk to the 53-man roster and we go from there. If Quinn Nordine seems ready later in the season, okay, we cut Nick Folk and Quinn Nordine, you're back on the 53. So I could see something like that happening, but just a couple guys popping up in the injury report. Jonnu, I don't really think his status is in question, but you obviously don't love to see guys popping up with injuries. We had 6 guys in the injury report. They have 3. Jamie Sherwood, linebacker for them, did not participate again today. Didn't yesterday either. Jameson Crowder with a groin injury, he was limited. And then Keelan Cole with a knee injury, he was limited as well. Both those guys look good to play for Sunday. I'm not sure about Sherwood, did not participate, so he might not be playing, but that's some of the injury updates that we've got over the past couple of days.
Yeah, and Kyle Van Noy is one of those guys that came back to New England in the offseason. He's a leader. He's been in this system for a while. He lined up 18 snaps on the defensive line and 17 snaps on the ball last week. So he's one of those guys that, you don't know where he's going to line up. He can play multiple things. He can get to the passer. He can play man coverage. He can drop zone coverage. So this would be a big loss for me also on the defensive side of the ball. One of your leaders, first off, one of your more veteran guys, and then a guy that is kind of a do-it-all type of Swiss Army knife in Kyle Van Noy. And then obviously with Jonnu Smith, I think that Devin Asiasi proved to us that he can come in there. He's going to be no Jonnu Smith if Jonnu Smith isn't able to go. But it hurts not having a guy with Jonnu Smith's, athleticism and his experience on the field if we're going to play a lot of 12 personnel.
Which he should be. He should be fine. He's just limited. He should be good to go. But I mean, we saw just that play that we showed at the beginning where he ran that great route and he could have had an 80-yard touchdown from Mack if he hit him, but he's got a ton of potential in this offense, and I think they're just going to expand the playbook more and more. The more comfortable Mack gets, the more comfortable these two tight ends get in this system. I think their roles are just going to expand further and further throughout the season, especially Jonnu. Just the way he's used, we can use him on sweeps, screens. Today they were working on screen passes. He was one of the guys taking those screen passes. So I think they're going to look to get the ball in his hands and see what he can do, because he can make a lot of plays. So I think he should be good to go, which is good news. But I am concerned about Kyle Van Noy, and I'd be surprised if Trent plays at this point. But Van Noy, I guess the good thing is a throat injury. I don't know how much that limits you. I mean, if it's a pain thing, or I don't know. I really have no idea what the injury is. There's been no reports on it, so it's hard to say if he's going to play or if he's not going to play. The statuses for the game come out tomorrow, so we'll have a little more information there. But yeah, it's tough if you lose a guy like Kyle Van Noy, leader on that defense, and Trent Brown, a leader on the offense, one of your best offensive linemen. That's two tough losses to take after a tough game last week where you lost to a division opponent. Now you get another division opponent. Should be able to beat the Jets, but I mean, you never know. These division games are always closer than anticipated. So two rookie quarterbacks, you never know what's going to happen. It should be a good game, but yeah, we'd like to see the health be a little better for the team.
For sure. Well, let's get into our game lines. We have some over-unders and some lines set for the game that we got from DraftKings. So let's start off. The Patriots are favored by 5.5 points on the road, over/under of 43. Cole, give me your predictions on both of these lines.
So I think with my score prediction, I have the over 5.5 for us, but I really think this could be closer than people expect. It's really going to depend how much pressure we get on the ball or how much pressure we get on Zach Wilson. And I think we should have no issues stopping the run, but it's really going to come down to that. Just our ability to keep pressure on Zach Wilson and to keep these wide receivers in check. They do have some talented wide receivers like we talked about, but I have us winning by more than 5.5. We'll get into our final predictions towards the end of this, but I have us with the over for the 5.5.
Yeah, and I agree. I have both the overs on this one. 5.5 seems pretty doable for New England. A touchdown, I would say at least. And then I have mine over 43 just because I think that New England's rushing game and passing attack is going to complement each other very well this game. So I'm hitting the over on both these also. I think that maybe the Jets get some late garbage time touchdowns, and that's what helps them get a couple more points. But I'm putting New England in the 30-point range, and then that's going to put I really don't think we can hold Zach Wilson scoreless. It wouldn't surprise me. There's always garbage time touchdowns. There's always stuff that's going to happen. So I'm putting, I'll get to my score, but I'm putting the over on that 43.
I think I had the under just barely, but I can't really see it going either way. I can see us, if this game gets out of hand, I can see that definitely going up. And then garbage time touchdowns by the Jets, that happens when you're down big in a game and the defense starts to soften up a little bit. So yeah, I could see it really going either way.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into our other one. We have the quarterback lines right here. So Mac Jones, 246.5 yards, 1.5 touchdowns, and then half of an interception. And then Zach Wilson is throwing for 9 less, 237.5 yards. Same line on touchdowns at 1.5, and the same line on the interception. So what are your over-unders for Mac Jones? Let's start with him.
I have the over for yards, and I'll go over on touchdowns as well for Mac Jones. And then I'm going to go with the under on interceptions. He should be able to, if he didn't have any interceptions against Miami, if he plays with that same, if he plays as well as he did that game, he should be able to have the over on both touchdowns and yards and the under on interceptions. I don't see him having any interceptions against this Jets secondary. I mean, you never know. Maybe a ball could get tipped at the line or tipped up and get picked off, but just the decision making we've seen him have, I trust it that he can go with 0 interceptions against this Jets secondary.
Yeah, and I'm going to go under on yards, over on touchdowns, and under on interceptions. The only reason I'm going under on yards is just because I really am firmly on the train of this run game getting back on track right here. Damien Harris, revenge game, right? Coming off the fumble, offensive line going to prove it. We're going to control the pace of the game. I don't know if Mac Jones is going to throw it 39 times again. maybe more in the low 30s, maybe high 20s, and he's not going to have the opportunity to complete that many yards. But he gets those 2 red zone touchdowns, maybe another one to Aguilar, maybe another one to a little running back or tight end. That's not going to be too many yards, but I think he's going to be very close to that 240-yard mark. I think if this line was set at 225, I'd hit the over, but 246, getting up to there, that 250. It comes down to me is I don't think he's going to get, the chances to throw it because we're going to be up in the game. We're going to be controlling the clock. And then obviously with the touchdowns and interceptions, I think he's going to get those 2 touchdowns. And I don't see why he throws an interception, just like you mentioned.
Yeah, I just checked the stat. He had 281 last week against the Dolphins. I think he could hit a couple more big plays and go over that 246.5 mark against this Jets secondary. I do think we're going to be running the ball a lot, especially if we get up early. I think he kind of threw the ball more late against the Dolphins because we had to, because we were behind and we were trying to come back. But I think he'll go over on the yards and touchdowns and then under on interceptions. But for Zach Wilson, I got the over on yards for him as well. I'm going to say under on, because this is for passing touchdowns. I'm going to say under on passing touchdowns and over on interceptions. I could see him having 2 total touchdowns. Maybe he has a rushing touchdown, like Tua did against us last week. But I think the yards might pile up late in the game. Like we said, if this game gets out of hand, I think I could see him kind of stacking up yards late to where he gets to that over mark. But interceptions as well. I think he'll throw at least 1. I think hopefully we can grab 2 from him, and then that kind of build some confidence in the defense, and then gets the ball back to the offense to build more confidence and chemistry going into weeks 3 and 4.
Yeah, this is the exact opposite of Mac Jones for me. Zach Wilson's going to have to throw the ball. He's going to be throwing it a lot late in the game, early in the game too. So he's going to have the opportunity to hit over 237 for sure. So I'm hitting the over there. I'm going to go over on touchdowns. I'm going to go over on interceptions too. I think that, like we mentioned, he has to throw the ball. He's going to get 2 eventually, right? He's going to have Corey Davis open. He's going to have someone else. And then I really think we get 2 picks off of him. They might be early picks, and that might, put the game out of reach, but we're going to steal 2 off of him with pressure in his face. He's going to make a throw, tip ball, something like that. So I'm hitting the over on all of these.
Yeah. I could see that as well. Hopefully we can keep him in check and not let him get more than 1 touchdown. But I definitely, you never know, between rushing and his rushing ability and throwing the ball, especially if he gets a late touchdown, I could see him getting the over on that as well.
For sure. Well, rushing props now. Damien Harris is set at 73.5 yards. Tevin Coleman set at 29.5 rushing yards. So let's start off with the Jets now. Tevin Coleman at 29.5 yards.
29.5 yards. That's not a lot of yards. I'm gonna go with under, I guess. Just the way this game plays, if we get out to an early lead, they're not going to be running the ball much. So that's so few yards. 30 yards by a running back in an NFL game. But I guess I'm going to go with the under, just hoping and trying to be optimistic that we get out to an early lead and the Jets team doesn't really have the opportunity to run the football.
Yeah, I'm going with the under here too. I think that this is going to be over total yards, but rushing yards, no. Tevin Coleman's used more in the passing game. They have Michael Carter Jr., who was a rookie pick out of North Carolina for them, that I think will get at least split the carries, if not get more than Tevin Coleman. And they also have Ty Johnson. So they're splitting a lot of carries in the backfield. This would be over 29.5 rushing or total yards for me, but it's got to be under the 29.5 rushing yards for Tevin Coleman. And then for Damien Harris, for me, I'm going over again. I've said this offensive line is going to dominate. He could carry the ball 20 plus more times again to this week. And I don't buy into the things. Yes, Bill Belichick is harsh on running backs that fumble, but Damien Harris is not a fumble machine. He's fumbled it once last year and once this year. I don't think that that's going to be a problem. With Trent Brown out, that makes it a little scary, but I still think, running to that left side with a Winu, with Shaq Mason, with David Andrews there, and then with Isaiah Wynn, hopefully he can play a little better, that we're going to hit the over. Not by much, but I think that Damien Harris gets this because I just don't see James White getting many rushes. He'll get a lot of targets and catches, and I don't see JJ Taylor getting many. If he does, it's maybe going to be, 5, 6, and then some targets too. And who knows what Ramondre is, but this is Damien Harris's backfield still.
Yeah, we'll see how Ramondre sprinkles in there we'll see how much they punish him for his mistake. as a rookie on that catch and run last week. But yeah, I think JJ Taylor could get some carries if they actually activate him this week. I don't see why they wouldn't. He's a talented guy. He can do different things, but it's especially if they don't want to play Ramondre, I think you kind of have to. You got to have another back in there. Just having two backs is not really great. I think Damien Harris I have the over for him on rushing yards. He had 105 last week against Miami. If you take away that 35-yard run, that's 70. So I still have the over. I think he's going to be able to run the football better than he did against the Dolphins. Dolphins have a couple nice linebackers. Their defensive line is pretty solid. Not that the Jets don't. They have CJ Mosley and a couple guys on that interior defensive line that can rush the passer and create some havoc in the run game. But I think Damien Harris, this offensive line should be able to win that battle against their defensive line. And I see Damien, especially late in the game, if we have a lead, being able to run the clock down and run that ball and get over that 73.5 rushing yard total.
Yeah. I mean, he hit it against a better defense last week. And I know a lot of people are worried about the fumble issue late in the game. I don't see it being a problem. Who else would you trust with? Would you trust New England with 10 carries to Damien Harris and 10 carries to Ramondre? I think no. Ramondre's in the doghouse more than Damien Harris is, with him being a rookie. Same with JJ Taylor. I just don't know if they're going to trust him to take 10, 15 carries. But he might be in there more snaps, but not carries. But let's move on to the wide receiver props. Jacoby Myers, 54.5 receiving yards, 4.5 receptions, and then Corey Davis, 53.5 and 4 receptions also. Or did I say 53 for Jacoby Myers? I'm at 54.5.
54.5. Yeah.
Yeah. I might have flipped them, but 54.5 for Jacoby Myers, 4.5 receptions, same receptions for Corey Davis, just a yard short. So what are your predictions there for both of those guys?
So real quick, just touch on your last point. I feel way more confident that Damien Harris is not going to fumble than Ramondre Stevenson. We've seen him fumble in preseason and now early on in his first game. But Damien Harris doesn't have fumble issues. He hasn't in the past, at least. So I don't expect that to continue, especially the way that game ended. I think he's going to definitely have a lot of motivation to clean that up and to not fumble again after not losing that game for us. But late in the game, we had a high chance to win that game, and that fumble really killed us. So moving on to the over-under for the wide receivers. I have over for Jacoby Myers. He had a great over on both for Jacoby Myers. He had a great game against the Jets last year, and now we got just more weapons and more people to create mismatches on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Jacoby Myers could have a great game, have close to maybe 70 yards and 6-7 catches. Yeah, I think he had a lot of success against the Jets last year, and I look for that to continue this Sunday against the Jets. And then Corey Davis, this one's tough. He's probably going to be on J.C. Jackson most of the game, but I could see the over for yards, and I'll go over for catches just because he's targeted a lot, and you never know late in the game if they soften things up. So I'll go over on all those for both wide receivers.
Yeah, I think it's safe to go over on Jacoby Myers on receptions. The yards is where it gets scary for me. I'm going to go under on yards. And this is all just going back to what I think New England is, their philosophy is going to be, is I think they're going to spread the ball out to other receivers. I think he gets 5 receptions, but is he going to get 55 yards technically to hit the over? I don't know, because the run game is going to get going. They're going to be sprinkling in the tight ends, the receivers, the running backs. So for me, it's the same thing of what I've been saying the whole episode right now, is that New England's going to be up early. They're going to have control of the line of scrimmage. They're going to be running the ball. I just don't know if he's going to have the opportunity to hit that 55 yards. So I'm going to hit the under on there. I'm going to hit the over on reception. So I do think that he gets involved. And then Corey Davis, I'm going the over on both of these. I don't know who else Zach Wilson trusts and has confidence in. We saw him throw 2 touchdowns to him last week. He had a big week, also catching the ball, catching passes and getting yards. So for me, I just don't know who else Zach Wilson goes to, especially if they're down. It's going to be a heavy dose of Corey Davis, whether J.C. Jackson's on him or not.
Yeah, and if Corey Davis is locked up by JC, which he very well could be, but we'll see how JC does. They got Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims, and a couple other guys that can make plays as well. So I think I agree with you there that he targeted Corey Davis so many times, and whenever he was in a pickle and he was on the run, he was looking, okay, where's 84? Let's throw him the ball and let him try to make a play. Corey Davis dropped a couple that Zach Wilson threw to him as well, where he could have maybe made that play. It was a tough ball, would have been a tough catch, but I could see. I definitely think the over on those for Corey Davis, because he's probably going to get his fair amount of targets.
For sure. Well, let's get into the final prediction of our episode. It is the score prediction right here. Cole has a little bit lower scoring game than I do, but let's start off with you, Cole.
Yeah, I have 24-17. Patriots beating the Jets. It's just, I don't know. I think if the Patriots get a lead early, they might, like you said, run the ball a decent amount and run the clock down to kind of limit those chances. And I think Zach Wilson, rookie quarterback, I hope we get a couple turnovers on him and kind of limit that Jets offense. So I kind of have a low scoring game. I really could see it being closer to your score. I just trying to limit expectations a little bit with just Zach Wilson's ability to just really put the team on his back and make plays. So I could see this being a little bit closer than people expect. But I guess I just have high expectations for Zach Wilson as a player and his ability to create. But I really could see this game going either way. I could see it getting out of hand quickly. If we get ahead early and Zach Wilson makes a couple mistakes and gives us the ball back, then it could get ugly, and it could be a lot closer to your score, or even less points for the Jets, but same points for us.
Yeah, it's just I have it here. I obviously hit the over on Mac Jones passing touchdowns at 2. So I think he gets 2. I think the ground game gets 2. Also, short yardage goal line situations, and then we get a field goal somewhere in there, and garbage time touchdowns are going to come up for the Jets, whether it's 1 or 2. But I don't think that there will be any point in this game where we as fans or New England feel stressed, like, holy crap, like this is closer than we thought. I think that it's going to be a very closely contested game, or a very blown out game the whole time, where New England is just confident. We can come in, we can take. Are you looking at the Giants interception?
Oh my God.
I saw your eyes and I figured that's what it was. So Giants,
Wow.
the Giants just pick off Taylor Heineke with like 2 minutes left down
That's
1 point.
tough.
So yeah,
Oh
I
God.
as soon as I saw your eyes, I knew what you were thinking. But no, back to what I was saying.
To throw that ball.
Yeah.
In that situation. Oh God.
Crazy. It's a good play by the corner, but
yeah, it was. He jumped that.
James
Coleman's
Bradbury.
gonna kind of go towards that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But,
go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, I was pretty much done, like, wrapping it up. Like I was saying, it's just, I just don't feel like New England's we're better on paper. We're gonna be better in person. The stakes are higher for New England. New England's, a brink playoff team. We think they're a playoff team. A lot of other people think they're a playoff team. Some people have them out of the playoffs. So they're going to go out there. They're going to, try to make their case that they are. And if it's a close game, maybe, people are feeling a little bit different about Mac Jones and the Patriots than what we thought at the start of the season. So this is a prove it game for me. It's a get on course game where New England's got to come out on the road, take a divisional game, get a win early and get back on track for these next couple games with New Orleans and Tampa Bay.
And I do think a lot of guys took that game against Miami personally. I think Kyle Van Noy especially, you could see how much that game meant to him. Just watching his kind of mic'd up after the game and the intensity he brought and the excitement he brought to that football game, it looked like he really wanted to beat his former team in Miami. So I think that game left a sour taste in a lot of our players' mouths. Mac Jones, Adrian Phillips said specifically it was kind of a wake-up call for them, and they need to step it up as a whole. The defense, the offense, everything, cleaning things up. It's just you can't win football games playing how they played that last game. So I think it definitely should be a bounce back game, and I think it's a great opportunity for them to really put a stamp on this and say, hey, we're a good football team, and we can still limit rookie quarterbacks. We got an elite defense, even without Stephon Gilmore here right now. We can make a lot of plays and create havoc for the quarterback and get some turnovers. So I look for it to be a bounce back game. If this game is close, I might be a little more concerned than I was from this Miami game. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really concerned because the ability that Mac Jones had to play within the scheme and make good decisions, make good throws. So I look for this to be hopefully at least a touchdown plus game, win for the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them go on the road, see how they bounce back. A lot of new guys, a lot of young guys on the team. Want to see how that Patriots mentality kicks in from the veterans and from the coaching staff, how they teach that, how prepared this team is. And I think, like you mentioned, they wanted that game won. They're going to be hungry for this game too. The Patriots have kind of owned the Jets the last, century, maybe 10 years. And they want to keep that going. Just because Brady's gone doesn't mean that we can't, dominate the Jets still. So talent's there for us. Just got to go out, execute. But I'm excited to see this. So we'll be back on Sunday night after the game for not a quick show, but it's just going to be more the good, the bad, the injured, like we did last week on the post game, and just our initial thoughts. And then Wednesday for the pregame episode, we'll hit a little bit more in-depth film and then talk about the preview for the next week's game. But Cole, that's it for me. Excited to get one in the win column. They're going to get one in the win column. I'm prophesying it right now. So
yes, yeah, especially division game, and this is a good opportunity for them to get a game on the road against the division early. I mean, Zach Wilson later in the year is probably going to be a lot tougher to go against than Zach Wilson beginning of the year, especially if they have Mekhi Becton back. So, yeah, I look for us to get a win. I'm excited. I want to see this team get their first win of the year. Mac Jones get his first NFL career win, and see this team start to build some confidence before a couple tough games. The Saints look like they're going to be a better team than I thought they were going to be. Jameis looked like Tom Brady in that game, just throwing 5 touchdowns. Looked like he couldn't do anything wrong. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing us hopefully get a win in the win column, go 1-1, be tied for the division. Hopefully, if we'll see how the Buffalo Miami game goes, but yeah, just super excited for Sunday. Patriots football again against a lesser opponent. Should be exciting. Should have some nice highlights to show hopefully after that game on Sunday night for the post game show. But yeah, that's it for us. So subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, all that stuff. You got one more thing?
I got one more thing. Me and Cole are playing each other in fantasy this week, so we're going for bragging rights.
Oh boy!
So in the listener league with my podcast and then this one, we're playing each other. So it's for bragging rights. We can come on Wednesday and talk about it. So
I haven't even checked my lineup. Hopefully, hopefully I don't have anybody playing I didn't want.
Yeah,
but
yeah. You have Taylor Heineke. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh boy. Jeez, hopefully
kidding,
not.
so.
Nope. But yeah, so we'll give you guys a recap on that, how that's going Sunday night. Hopefully I got like 200 points and Jason's at about 50 points, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, until Sunday night, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
We're on to Cincinnati.